The weather has been inclined to help my project to get the hoop house foundation out of the ice. My schedule has not been so inclined. I've been traveling a lot for work this week, and this day was no exception. It was sunny and warm, but by the time I got back to Nights and Weekends Homestead, the sun was descending into the horizon and the ice had already started to close in again. Still, thanks to the shoveling, snow blowing, and sunshine, things are progressing. Well, it's moving a little. I think if I'd been here today when it was sunny, I probably could have got that out, but I was working all day and on the road, so I did not get a chance to work on it. It is starting to wiggle a little bit. There's definitely been a lot of melting today, so I'm headed in the right direction. Unfortunately, I think we're going to get a storm tonight. I'm not sure what it's going to do, if it's going to rain or ice or snow, but I might be out here doing the whole thing over again. That's what happens when you don't do things in a timely manner in the fall. You end up doing more work in the winter, but at any rate, I think I will be able to get it out and adjust the dimensions on the hoop house, so that's progress, at least. But now I gotta go find Ziggy. Well, I don't think I'm gonna get another opportunity like this, so I'm gonna go out and see if I can move the hoop house. We're supposed to get an ice storm today, so I was just figuring I was gonna have to start over, but it's too warm for ice right now. It's actually raining, which means there should be some melt, hopefully. But I got my little scraper here, or icebreaker rather, and I'm gonna get my wrecking bar for leverage, see what I can do. The first step in this tedious process was to get the ice out of the way. The pipe was wiggling almost everywhere along its length, but the ice had essentially created a shell around most of it. I needed to get the upper edge of the shell out of the way. I had originally intended to do that only on the inside of the foundation because that's the direction I need to move. But it only took me a second to realize I needed to clear the outside too so I could get my pry bar down under the pipe. Then came the scary part. There are two things I was consciously attempting to avoid at all costs. One, I didn't want to bend the foundation pipe. And two, I didn't want to break any of the fittings which attach the hoops to that pipe. The trick when doing anything like this is to be patient and move slowly. Neither of those are my natural inclination, so this was a challenge. Here, where the pipe was still really frozen in toward the end, I was presented with another challenge. It was difficult to get the bar under the bottom of the pipe. It kept ricocheting off the ice and then glancing off the pipe into the board. Breaking the foundation board, which you may recall I've already done once, is less of a big deal than breaking the pipe, but I'd just as soon not break anything if I can help it. Well, I did get the foundation pipe out of the ice. Essentially what I wanted to make sure was that I didn't bend the pipe, that I didn't dent it when I was hitting, trying to break the ice around it with the wrecking bar, or that I didn't break the board, or most importantly, really most important, were not bending the pipe and not breaking the fittings that the hoops are attached to the pipe with. And I just went really slowly, and as I went down and it became frozen and stopped moving, I would break in there, pull up on it a little bit, loosen it, and then I got to a point maybe about 8 feet. So each one of these hoops is 4 feet from the next one. So when I got to about the next to last hoop down there, or sorry, the third hoop up, the whole thing came free, which was good. You know, when you're doing something like this and it's cold and the metal isn't as flexible as it normally is, anything could go wrong. So I'm glad it went well. Now I have to try to figure out how I can bring the entire structure on that side towards the other side. We'll see how it goes. Moving this wall of the foundation was relatively easy once it was freed from the ice and earth. Leverage is a wonderful thing. However, metal has, for lack of a better word, muscle memory. The pipes want to be in the shape they've been sitting in for months, so the foundation kept sliding back as soon as I took the pry bar pressure away. I knew that was going to happen, having dealt with the homemade hoop houses for years now. What I'm still not sure about, though, is how I'm going to get anchors into the ground to keep the foundation where I want it. I don't have any heavy equipment to break through the frozen layers of earth, and I don't want to spend any money to rent something like that, such as a post hole digger or excavator, just for 2 holes, one at the end and one in the middle. It's starting to get dark, and I don't think I'm going to figure that out, let alone make it happen, before it's too late. I also don't want this thing freezing back into the ground, so I'm going to put it up on blocks. Keep in mind, if you're doing something like this with an already constructed hoop house, do not raise one side and leave it up. A hoop house with plastic installed is like a big airplane wing and a sail wrapped all in one. The first gust of wind that got up under the raised side and split to go over the top of the plastic would lift the entire structure off the ground and likely set it down in the wrong place and wrong orientation, such as upside down and crumpled into a heap of metal. Well, it looks like I was just in time. Glad I got that finished and got back in the house before this started. Not sure if you can see it on the video, but it's actually raining pretty hard right now. This and several other wheel wells were left on this property when the old owners sold it to us and moved away. I've kept them around because they seemed like the sort of thing that would be useful. I use them from time to time, mainly as weights or anchors. 2 of them, not pictured here, are quite large, and I intend, someday, to have a bean hole into which those will go. And that gave me an idea. I'm going to try to start a small fire inside this one, and have it right over this section of ground where an anchor needs to be driven, to hold the hoop house in check. Since the wheel has a hole in the middle, I'm hoping I can let the heat melt a layer of earth ice, drive the bar in, and then repeat until I break through and can drive an anchor the rest of the way with a sledgehammer. I don't know if this will work, but it's worth a shot. Hey, it'll give me an excuse to be outside, at night, next to a campfire, and I love that.